Welcome, ladies, to tonight's webinar. I'm really excited actually to do this webinar. I haven't done any webinars in quite a while and I used to do them all the time. So welcome, and I'm so glad you made it. My name is Camille Thurnher. I'm the founder of Ignite Mr. Right. I help single women in how to attract a suitable partner so they can really have that relationship and love life they deserve. I'm very, very passionate about this. I will be sharing a little bit about my story and why this means so much to me. And I'm really glad you made it. I'm sure you could have just watched, your favorite program on a TV or read a book. So to me, that the fact that you turned up means that you are willing to create some sort of shift in your dating life, or you've been drawn to this message on for some other reason. So for either way, I'm really, really glad you made it. And I trust that you're going to get some great value out of this webinar. Now, the webinar will only go for about 40 minutes. I find usually an hour is way too long. I don't know about you, but my attention span is quite short. So I believe 40 minutes is going to be plenty. So I'd rather put in more, move through it, more quickly rather than just talking about the same thing over and over again. So my intention is to really inspire you, to re-inspire you, to empower you to take some action. And also I would like to entertain you a little bit, so we'll make it fun as well. So this is on the menu. This is what's on the menu tonight. I'm going to talk you through the Embrace Yourself meditation, just to get really grounded and connected for the call. I'll be sharing some of my story so you can understand why I'm so passionate about this and how this can help you as well. Then I'll be sharing the biggest dating mistakes successful women make, but this is also general for any woman, but in particular successful women out there. The 3 steps to attract Mr. Right. We'll go through the fun George Clooney visualization, and it will all make perfect sense to you once we actually once I guide you through it, and it'll be a lot of fun. Then I'll also be sharing some 3 love attraction strategies that you can implement straight away and really put into action over the next week. And at the end, I will also share an offer with you. And I'll promise you now, I'll keep it very short, and it's not, it's a very affordable offer. So that's just something I'd like to mention now, so you will expect that it will happen. But to start off with, I'd really, actually, before we start, I'll just quickly check if you can hear me as well. So if you can just put in that you can hear me okay. Yep, perfect. Excellent. So to start off with, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and just take a moment to be with yourself. So closing your eyes now, and imagine your day is dissolving behind you, just slowly drifting away. And you're taking these few moments just to be with you and enjoy this precious moment with yourself. And in your own time, just put your left hand on your lower belly and be curious to how that area actually feels. And just take a moment, be aware if there's any mind chatter, if it feels a little bit tense, if there's warmth. Just take a second to tune in with your left hand on your lower belly. What does it feel like? Very good. Then place your right hand over your heart. And again, just tuning in to see and feel. Is it different? Can you feel your heartbeat? Is there more warmth? Again, be curious to how that actually feels. Fantastic. And even be aware if it feels a little bit uncomfortable, or if your mind really, you might have some mind chatter going on. It's like, what's this all about? So again, observe all of that and just be curious. Very good. So now, in your own time, if it's appropriate where you are, just say out loud, I am safe, I am loved, all is well. And again, I am safe, I am loved, and all is well. And one more time, I am safe, I am loved, all is well. Fantastic. And now just relax your hands next to your body and just notice the difference. Is there any difference? Do you feel slightly more grounded, slightly more connected? And just take a moment again to feel that slight difference. Perfect. So this is a really simple exercise that you could do before you actually get out of bed. It just takes, it's powerful because it just gives you that moment to connect with the deeper part of you, and to also really connect into how your body actually feels. So I'd like to share a little bit about my story. Now in my late 30s, in my very late 30s, and I've been with my partner Alex for about 5.5 years. So this has been my longest relationship. My relationships before him, the longest, actually, I did have one relationship that went for 4 years, but apart from that one, a lot of them were quite short. So I'm in a very happy, fulfilling relationship. It's very passionate. I feel very, very grateful because things weren't always like that. So I I certainly know how you feel because I've been there myself with being single and really having trouble with finding that right person that I really did want to build a life with. So my life has been fairly unconventional. I'm from Switzerland originally. I came over here when I was 19, backpacking around Australia, and long story, but I ended up staying here. And I never really had trouble attracting guys as such, but they were often the wrong sort of guys. And one of my tendencies was also that I was attracted to unavailable men, and men who just weren't really ready to actually commit. And funnily enough, I always thought that they had a problem, that it was their issue, that they're just so immature and they're not ready to commit. But looking back, I actually also wasn't ready to commit. I really did had a lot of fear around being trapped, and also I really wasn't. I enjoyed the drama as well, and I really feel like I was drawn to the whole drama of not having what I actually wanted. And what happened was that I was quite happy also having those more short-term casual relationships because they were fun and intense, and I did do a lot of traveling in my 20s as well. So that was all good. But then when I turned around, when I moved into my 30s, especially around 30, 31, I really wanted something more. And I knew that I needed to change something in order to attract a different sort of person. So I was on a mission. I knew I had to change things, and I was committed to do whatever it took. And there was one I'd done, but by that stage, I had done quite a bit of personal development and a lot of different retreats and coaching as well. And I started to get really clear on what I wanted. And back then, I had my long list of what I wanted in a guy, and was very determined and very independent, very strong. And I met a guy who really ticked all of the boxes. He was tall, he was interesting, he was into psychology, he was attractive, he was funny, he had a good family values, all of those things. And I really was attracted to him. So I thought, oh my God, finally, he is the one. I really was convinced that he was the one. So we started to spend a bit of time together, and we were dating for a couple of months. But again, he also was the sort of guy who actually wasn't ready to commit. So he was a guy who had been in long-term committed relationship, but he actually just come out of a 7-year relationship. And we had a chat, and he said, look, I'm really not ready to take this to the next level. I'm still really getting over my ex. And I understood that that wasn't the right time for us. But having at that stage, I'd read quite a lot of the relationship and dating books, and I thought, oh, if I play my cards right, I'm sure it's all going to work out for me. And I really was determined to still get my way. And I was very understanding, and I said, okay, that's absolutely, I totally understand. Let's just not see each other for a while, and you sort yourself out, and we'll see what happens. So we went our separate ways. It's about 3 months later, I kept on thinking about him, and I I was quite obsessed about him really at the time. I really thought, as I said, I really thought he was the guy for me. So I after about 3 months, I contacted him, and just out of the blue, just called him to say hello. I thought to myself, surely by now he's ready to get into another committed relationship. Now, this is what happened. He answered a call, was really happy to hear from me, had a good chat. He shared that things were going really well in his life, that he was feeling a lot better, that he had completed his studies, and that he'd just met someone a couple of months ago, and that things were going really well. And as a matter of fact, they were going to move in together. And I was absolutely devastated. Like inside, I was shaking. My mouth just dried up, but I kept calm and kept it together, wished him all the best, and got off the phone. And I was furious, I was devastated, the whole range. It was really that feeling of, oh my God, what is wrong with me? There's something seriously wrong with me. I still can't get what I want. And all my friends, they couldn't understand it. They're like, what is going on? You're attractive, you've got so much to offer, you're fun, you're passionate. Why do you keep on going for those sort of guys? And at that moment, again, I knew I had to change something, and I knew there was something within me that kept on repeating all these patterns. So I did a few things, but one particular retreat that really changed things around for me was with a guy called David Data. He writes books for men and women, and he talks a lot about masculine energy and feminine energy. And I was really drawn to his approach. He wrote a book for women called Dear Lover, which I highly recommend. And there's a book for men called The Way of the Superior Man. And I went all the way to New York. I just had this feeling I needed to go to this retreat. It was quite expensive, and it was the most amazing thing I'd ever done. And the retreat was a lot about for women to explore the different aspects of the feminine. And David Data talked a lot about that it's so important to embrace all the shades of femininity. So being feminine doesn't necessarily just mean being this soft, nice sort of petite creature. It can also mean that you're absolutely in touch with your anger and your wild, your crazy, passionate wild side. So, but that wasn't the part I had trouble with, but the part I had really struggled with was being in touch with my vulnerability. And I really connected to a deeper side of me that I needed to get in touch with, because a lot of those guys I had been with, they liked me for who I was, and they saw me as an equal and everything like that, but they couldn't really feel any vulnerability from me. So they didn't really feel that they could actually offer anything to me. So it was more of a sort of an equal, you know, friendship. There was still sexual chemistry there, but they couldn't see us together for in more of a long-term commitment. So that really turned things around for me. And after that, it still probably took me about a year to until I met Alex. But that was a really big part of my turnaround, and that's David Data's work is definitely I'm definitely influenced by his teachings, and I do incorporate some of his practices in my coaching. But yeah, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is if you're not if you're not where you're at now in your relationship or meeting the right guy, and you keep on doing the same thing over and over again, really don't expect a different outcome. There's something within you that needs shifting. So it could either be the behavior that you know how you actually go into relationships in the early stages, or you know your beliefs around men as well, and also the relationship you've got with yourself. So there's so many layers to this, and this is a really complex topic. So it's not black and white, but I do really want to give you some specific strategies that you can implement that will really help you, and some things that I did just before I met Alex as well. So just a little bit of my story. And now I've been in the dating coaching field for about 2 years. I do help men as well, but I've been mainly focusing on helping women. And my main why I'm also so passionate about it is I met so many women over the years who were 40, 42, and they still were single, and they really wanted to have a family. And for some of them, it was leaving it a bit late. So it's my mission to help as many women as possible in finding their Mr. Right, so they can really have the family if that's what they want to, as well as have their successful careers. So I'll just check if there are any questions. No, that's all good. You just grab a sip of water. Thank God for the slides, because I often do get carried away on a bit of a tangent. So thank God for slides, I say. Now, I'd like to share a little bit about some of the biggest mistakes successful women make when looking for their Mr. Right, and again, women generally. And I pretty much made all of those mistakes, by the way. So one of the first mistake, actually the first one I probably didn't make, that's probably the only one, but the first one is really to not actually going on dates and just to expect him to magically turn up at your doorstep. So it's possible that, you know, your emergency plumber ends up being your husband, but it's actually, yeah, it's a fairly small chance, wouldn't you agree? So this is really about, in order to meet people, or to invite someone into your life, it does really help if you're actually open to at least going on dates, or actually being approachable too. That's another thing. A lot of men come to me and they really find that women often aren't actually approachable, and they don't know how to approach them. I actually went to a networking event last night, and it was sort of about angel investing, and a lot of very geeky guys were there looking for investors for their new sort of inventions. And I was mingling, and a lot of the guys said, look, we really need help. We don't know how to read women. We don't know how to approach them. And they were all decent men, like men in, mid-30s, late 30s, successful. They had their businesses, and they really need help. And there are plenty of good men out there. So really, if you are looking for someone, also be more approachable. So mistake number 2 would be a lot of women give away their pearls way too quickly, meaning they really sleep with a guy way too soon. And again, I was the same. I was like, look, I know what I want. I don't have a problem being upfront. And I didn't get why that didn't work. And just think of it this way. If you sleep with a guy really quickly, not only is the whole build up just gets sort of killed and he doesn't really need to pursue you, he also probably feels that he's probably one of many and he doesn't feel that special. And the other reason is also that if you take things slowly at the beginning of a relationship, you can actually really tell if you like someone for who he is. Because once we get caught up in that passion and in that chemistry, often women tend to lose the reality a little bit, especially if sex is really good. So I would, as a bit of a ground rule, I usually would say at least wait for at least a month or at least 6 dates, and that way it's just going back to that old school dating, and the guy really needs to then prove himself. And if he's not happy to wait that long, he's not the sort of guy you want to settle down with anyway. He's not. That's really going to qualify the right guys too. Another mistake a lot of women make is they fall for someone's potential and they take on a guy as a bit of a project because we like helping and we like, we see the best in people, generally speaking. I know it's a generalization, but that's often the case. So ask yourself when you meet someone, if he didn't change at all in 10 years, would you still want to be with him in 10 years' time? And if not, then maybe it's not, maybe he's not the right guy. And of course, men will change and they will grow and everything, but I'm talking as far as who he is and what he stands for and his values, how he turns up in life. Do you respect him? Do you respect him for who he is? Again, if you don't and you just want to change him and see his potential, you're just going to waste your time and energy. Another mistake I see a lot is women, once, because a lot of my clients had been single for so long, once they meet someone they like, they really lose themselves and turn into a little girl. So this is that paradox. A lot of successful women are so strong and independent when they're single and everything's totally fine. And once they fall in love with someone, they just totally lose the plot. And I was exactly the same. It's like it's that all or nothing. So one thing I help my clients with is to stretch to gain more flexibility in that slowly opening up, taking things slow, but opening up slowly without losing your center, but also being able to show your vulnerability. And then if he's not the right guy or if he does something you don't like, to slowly go back. So it's that I call it the tango of love. It's going forwards and backwards, where a lot of women, they can do the total closed off. I'm absolutely fine by myself, but they're quite closed off in their hearts. Or they totally just go, yes, he's the one, and absolutely just throw everything at him. And there's nothing much in between. So that's definitely a challenge. And of course, there are many reasons for this. So we often don't find that many people we actually do want to be with, and there is often that yearning that we've had for so long. Now, another mistake is also having unrealistic expectations and having those long lists. So as I mentioned, I had my list myself, very long list with what I wanted, how he needed to be, etc., etc. So my suggestion is, like, some dating coaches are all for the lists and clear intention and all of that. Some dating coaches are throw away the list. I'm somewhere in between. I do believe it's good to have a list with what you'd like to experience in your next relationship, what you'd like to explore, but it's less about how he needs to be or how old and all of that, because often love comes in a totally different package to what you might have imagined in the past, but you might be a lot happier because of it. So a lot of my clients have, their expectations are very unrealistic, and the mistake they make is also that sort of guy, who would they actually need to be in order for him to want to be with her? And we often don't ask ourselves, what do we actually bring to the table? And you might say, what do you mean, like I'm a goddess? And I've had that before too, even in my relationships. Like, what do you mean I need to, it's we tend to be a little bit self-centered, and it's often, it gets lost in the whole thing. It's like, well, what are you going to actually offer to this relationship? What would you like to share more of in your next relationship? So it could be a great exercise to actually create a list of, this is what I'd like to give and offer to my next partner. Now that would be a different approach. Another mistake would be being attracted to Mr. Wrong. So a lot of women are attracted to the bad boys, and they know they're not good for them. Also friends with benefits, and guys who are just not unavailable, and guys who we know they're not the right guys. But we, in the past, myself, I have definitely spent time with guys who I knew weren't the right guys, but sort of got caught up in that. One other big thing is, successful women particularly tend to want to micromanage a guy. And a lot of the time, like initially, they find it really hard to just trust and allow him to move at a slightly slower pace than what they would like. So it's that loss of control. So that's definitely one to watch as well. And then, and there's so many more, but one last thing I wanted to share was not understanding the rubber band theory. And Dr. John Gray talks about that, when often before guys actually do commit, and this happened with my partner Alex too, before he proposed, there's often a little bit of a stage where they pull back slightly because they need a bit of space to really get clear before they take that next step with committing, because it can be quite scary for them. They feel it is that the whole intimacy and getting really close to someone can be a bit scary for them too. So really understanding that at one stage, in that early stage of dating, there might be a bit of a pullback, and that's when a lot of women actually sabotage the relationship. And I did that over and over and over again. And even with guys who probably could have been really great guys. And that's really an important thing to understand. A really good book I'd recommend talking about that is Dr. John Gray's book, Men and Mars on a Date. Mars and Venus on a Date. That's the one. That really explains the different stages of the early stages of dating really well. So these are a few. So you might be listening to this, and some of them might resonate more than others, but I'm sure a couple of them you can definitely relate to. So I'd like to now share the 3 steps to attract Mr. Right in a nutshell. Of course, there's a lot more to it. Now, the first step is about embracing you. And you had a little bit of a taste with the meditation at the beginning. It's really about tuning in more into yourself and who you are, your uniqueness. You need to know what makes you you. You need to be really comfortable in your own skin. And I don't mean, this is not just an intellectual understanding. You need to exude it. Your unique flavor really needs to come out. So I often ask women when I do some talking sometimes, some public speaking sometimes, and I ask the ladies, if you were a flavor of ice cream, what would you be? So even ask yourself now, if you were a flavor of ice cream, what would you be and why? So just take a moment, and then once you've got that flavor, it's nearly like you need to know your flavor, and then it's your responsibility to share your flavor with the world. So it's similar about, really know what you're passionate about and what your purpose is, and then it's about sharing your unique gifts with the world. And it's the same for when you're looking for a partner. A really a strong guy, especially a strong alpha male, he needs to see your uniqueness, and he needs to see your confidence, and he needs to see that you're proud of who you are. And this isn't, and it's different to you wearing that sort of mask of, oh, I'm amazing and I'm great. It's really about you just being you, and you being really happy with who you are, and you really enjoying your own energy, and being playful with it. So it's really about that feminine confidence. For me, that concept of embracing yourself is also about the ability to experience pleasure. So I know a lot of you are great with achieving things, but how good are you at really enjoying eating a chocolate mousse and just being in the moment and enjoying the nice things in life without going into, oh God, this, I shouldn't be eating this, etc. How good are you at really engaging with the world in the moment, and really engaging with people you meet and being really present? Again, that's, to me, it's in that same bubble of embracing yourself, but also then being really present with who you are, and then from that space being able to engage with the world from an authentic and grounded space. Now, the second step is about imagination, and it's also about connecting to your dream, your dream relationship, and really creating that new love story. So a lot of people come to me, a lot of my female clients come to me, and then they're really clear with what they don't want, but they're not that clear with what they actually do want. And when I ask them about, so how will you feel when you're in the kitchen with him, cooking together? Just describe that to me. They often can't actually describe how they would like to feel. So I will give you a little, the George Clooney meditation actually will give you more of a sense of what I'm talking about here. It's really about creating a new love story and allowing yourself to dream again, and getting re-inspired about that possibility. And also the openness to be willing to let go of the past and your story, and some of the older tendencies, some of the older things that you don't want to take with you to your next relationship. So this is all about the imagination, and creating that romance as well, for yourself. Then the third point is all about invitation. So to actually invite Mr. Right. So this is about where the taking action takes place, and taking action the right way. So not rushing into things too quickly, and really taking things slow. And this is also about creating a space for someone to come into your life. Like you need to really start, as I said earlier, being more open to being approached, maybe letting go of some friend of benefits that you might have, learning the art of the tango of love, which is, the going backwards and forwards. And a lot of women say, well, I don't want to play games. And I call it the tango of love. It is a game. It's a dance. It's the same for animals. They have their rituals, their mating rituals. Like of course, there is a game to it. Learn the game, enjoy the game. I say, like, be playful, enjoy it. And my approach is also, I really encourage my clients to date quite a lot of men in over a 3-month period, and really just have fun with it, because we tend to get so obsessed with one person if we like them. If you meet a lot of men over that period of time, it just creates a lot more. You're not going to be so obsessed with the one person, and it also teaches you so much about yourself. And one more thing about that concept is also, imagine, as a bit of a metaphor, like, imagine you are inviting him into your life. You're not asking him to come in, like, you're not asking him to walk through the door, but you're opening the door slightly. So then it's up to him if he's going to walk in the door. So I've always really liked that image of creating a space but not actually asking someone to come in. So this is really about letting go a little bit more, and trusting more as well. And then also, of course, who do you need to be in order to attract your Mr. Right? What sort of qualities would he be drawn to? So I'd like to invite you, just going to grab a sip of water, just to close your eyes again. Actually, before we start, if you could go on a date with anyone, so this is about the George Clooney meditation. So if you could go on a date with anyone, who would it be? So this is just about physical attraction. Who would you actually pick? And if you'd like, you can type it in. Got Brad Pitt. Yeah, definitely George. Johnny Depp. Yeah. So it's interesting that it's always just the similar names every time, and most women do actually pick George Clooney. So that's why I called this the George Clooney meditation. So close your eyes now and remember who you just picked for yourself then, and imagine you slowly floating above where you're sitting, slowly moving above, enjoying that expansion and freedom and that different perspective, and slowly floating to a place that you haven't been before. Place in the not far, not too distant future. Getting closer and closer now, you can see this gorgeous tropical island. Stunning colors and turquoise. So getting closer to that, you can see it much clearer now. Approaching the island, and you choose to get down closer. Like you're a bird, you're floating down now. Now you're landing on the island, and you can see this magnificent 5-star resort. You choose to walk in there. Imagine you've just had an expensive spa treatment and you feel absolutely at peace, beautiful inside and out. And you're just walking into the resort, walking into the room where you're actually staying now. Looking around, and notice all the beautiful things around you. Notice how far you've come. And take a moment to feel grateful for all the abundance that is in your life right now. And you can see the ocean. The windows are open, there's a breeze coming in, and you feel absolutely delighted to be in such a gorgeous resort. You're wearing a long silk dress, and now you're walking into the bathroom. There's a big round spa bath with warm bubbles, and you think to yourself, why not? I deserve it. So, taking off your silk dress, stepping into the bath slowly, sinking into the bath, and it feels wonderful. You're even more relaxed now, sinking in. Ah, it's just gorgeous. The bubbles and the breeze and the luxury around you. And you're so blissed out. And all of a sudden, you notice that there's a man with you in the bath. You're a little bit surprised at first, but you choose to go with it because it just feels right. And he looks a little bit like the guy you've just picked before. He's gorgeous. He's got the most amazing body. He looks at you with his warm eyes and a smile. And now he might change into someone that you haven't met before. So trust however that image comes up is absolutely perfect. Now you feel that there's a big bubble around you. So there's like a pink glass bubble that surrounds you. So there's nothing that can really come between you. And it feels safe, feels connected. It's a different sort of connection to what you have experienced in the past. It feels quite comfortable. And there's a sense of respect as well as chemistry, playfulness. He looks at you like he's just so happy that he has actually met you, and you feel exactly the same. And just imagine that pink bubble around you is creating even more of a connection, more of a special space. Now imagine you can really allow your imagination to go run wild here. So imagine he might be moving closer to you. He might be kissing your neck. He might want to touch your shoulders, your arms, your legs. You might move closer to him, whatever feels right. And you explore whatever you want to do with him and really enjoy that sense of pleasure, that intimacy, the romance, the playfulness, and just really give yourself that moment of maybe even allowing yourself to receive even more than what you usually be comfortable with. And there's nothing that needs to be done, nothing that you need to do. It's all about just trusting and sitting back and really getting used to that experience. So there might be a message for you. So be open if there's a message from your higher self or whatever you want to call it. Anything that you might need to hear. Very good. So take all those positive experiences with you now, knowing that there has been a shift that's been taking place and you've created a really, really strong connection here. So moving up now, taking the bubble with you, putting the bubble within. You can put it into your heart or your belly, whatever feels right, your solar plexus. And so slowly, slowly, in your own time, just float above the island, the resort, the bubble bath, taking away all the taking with you all the experiences, and slowly moving back into where you are now. And welcome back. So just a little taste that what I mean by you really starting to imagine things. And that's something that I would actually encourage you to do every day. So one of the actions I really recommend, and it's really powerful, is for you to actually write down 3 things every day in regards to what you'd like to experience with your next partner. So I would encourage you to actually buy a little journal and start writing every day. So for example, I really look forward to getting engaged with you, or I really look forward to starting a family with you, or I really look forward to feeling that playfulness with you, or I really look forward to travel to South America with you, and really be creative and come up with new things every day. So it's like you're starting that conversation with that. Just imagine that person's already there and you are really inviting him into your life. And it's also really going to explore your creativity, because that you'll be coming up with some things that you hadn't even thought of. So really have fun with that. So I'm curious, out of 10, 10 being absolutely a priority and 1 not at all, how much of a priority is it for you to meet that someone special? Just give yourself a moment to come up with that number. Great. So I would say if your number is less than 6, it's not really that much of a priority. If it's 6 or more, it's definitely a priority. And I'd really invite you to do something different this time round. Oh, 10, fantastic. 9, 8, beautiful. And it is such, for me personally, having a fulfilling relationship is the most important thing. Like, it's so high on my value system, and of course now I'm doing this sort of work as well, so which is aligned, but it's, to me, it's such an important part of life. So I really want to invite you to connect to that yes, it is important, and yes, I am going to do something different about it. So what I'd like to invite you to, I usually on the webinars actually talk about my upcoming webinar course, and that is still on. There's one starting in July, on the 1st of July. So it's a 6-week course. It's $297. And all the information is on my website. So it's ignitemrright.com/webinar course. But tonight I actually wanted to offer something different, because a lot of the feedback I've been getting is that some of you would prefer one-on-one coaching, and some of you like webinar courses, and some of you aren't that as much into it. So my offer for you on the call tonight is actually I'd like to offer you a one-on-one ready for romance session. One-on-one meaning on Skype. If you are in Melbourne, I do also have a space where I see people, so depending where you are in Australia. And it will really be about you getting clear on exactly what sort of love story you'd like to invite into your life. We're going to get you really clear with what might be holding you back, and then what you can actually do about it. And I would share some really specific tools with you with how you can actually change things around in a very short time. Interestingly enough, I did this session with a lady from, she was American. She was from Seattle is the city. I just had to remember that. We did that session together, and she did want to do some one-on-one coaching later on, and I touched base with her 2 weeks later, and I said, so when would you like to get things moving? And she's like, oh my God, Camille, you wouldn't believe what happened. She actually met someone about 3 or 4 days after the session, and things were going really well, and they're still together. So she was very lucky. She just needed the one session, just a little bit of tweaking, and things just really fell into place. So some of you, it won't take very long at all, and some of you will need a little bit more support over a few months. So but this is really a special offer for you tonight. So what I need you to do, if you'd like to take advantage of it, is just to email me. In the subject line, put ready for romance. So my email is camille@ignitemrright.com, and then just include your number and best time for me to call you, and we'll arrange a time. And this is really the best way for us also to connect and get a little bit deeper, rather than just being on the webinar course. If you would choose to do the course after that, the $100 will actually be taken off. So it'll only be $197 if you do choose to do the course. That will be part of it. So I trust that. I don't even know what time it is. It just sort of flowed quite quickly. So I trust that I did give you some great value, and my approach will either resonate with you or it won't. It's definitely not for everybody. I would get you very much outside of your comfort zone, and I would get you to do a lot of things. So during the webinar course, there are a lot of love actions. So I do believe that it's important to actually implement things and get things moving. So thank you so much again for joining me on the call. And whatever you do, I'm wishing you all the love, passion, and romance in the world. If it's not going to be with me, really, what I would suggest is do get some sort of support, try something different, read a book, go to a seminar, do whatever it takes so you can definitely make this a reality for you, because life's too short to be missing out on love, romance, and passion. So wishing you an amazing weekend, and have a fantastic evening. Thanks so much, ladies. Bye.